I thought Tony said that he wasn't concerned about Lyndon, that Lyndon was not on his level as it related to Morgan. What happened?
I don't know, but his rep looked like he was shook.
He wanted to buck at the dinner table.
No question. Like he went old school playground on him. Buck.
Morgan must realize that neither of these men have her interest at heart.
Welcome to Cliff Alerts. Today we're going to be talking about OWN Network's reality-based TV series, Ready to Love, season number 7, episode number 10.
But before we get into it, please like, share, and subscribe. We thank you for our new subscribers and we thank you for those that are hanging in there with us. We appreciate and are grateful for your support. Thank you so much. We are grateful for you.
Absolutely. No question about that.
So here we go. Tommy comes through on an airboat and he takes the cast on a ride through the Everglades. They end up at the house that they arranged for their weekend.
Yeah, that place looked like a very nice Mediterranean style house. It looked like it was on a little bit of an isolated and or secluded lot. It looked tight down there.
Yeah, well, it was secluded because they had to contain that foolishness that was going on.
Well, the neighbors to find out about it.
Let's start with Miss Jeffries and Andre. They're hugging and touching and kissing, and she's with that baby voice, and he seems to be into that ish. And I would have thought that so deep in the process, she would have revealed more of who she is. She is into this sweet girl persona. We have different levels, and she has shown just one. And I, for one, I'm not buying it.
I'm not buying it either. I think, quite frankly, the voice act, if you will, is played out. I'm ready to see her real, authentic self. Should she choose and or decide to show us that?
She's not going to.
Well, maybe at some point in the process, she'll kind of get it figured out.
Well, anyway, we see Mercedes. She's cutting the herd basically, and she's letting all her suitors know that, hey, she's all about Mark Antony.
She's all hugged up on him. Huh?
She threw on some booty shorts, allowing him to get the fields, and he was good with that, and she was good with that also. Did.
Oh my goodness, that's old school right there too. Well, me and mine, huh? Huh?
Is everything old school? Please
Well,
don't do Denzel.
uh,
Please,
all right, I ain't
please,
gonna
I
do.
beg.
All right, I ain't gonna do them too.
You.
All right.
Anywho,
Uh-huh.
Cynthia is really into Anthony, and she tried to have a conversation with Andre at some point, and she said she's more in tune with the Andrew with depth rather than the flashy dude. One thing about that sister, she can be direct when she wants to.
Yeah, yeah. She's far more open with Anthony.
I don't know where Andre is really about her. He seemed more going towards Jeffrey's side,
Hmm.
and he claims there's a conflict, but you don't see it. You don't see him gravitating to Cynthia at all.
Yeah. Uh, Blake, he does this speculation kind of like show for facade. He puts that on and speculates about Sue Ann, Sue,
Yeah, what's
like it
thinking
really means anything.
what he's gonna do since they're both divorced.
That was just kind of like a waste of a little segment there. But that was a whole lot of nothing. It's not nothing. So
Anthony and Mercedes prepared dinner,
Anthony
and
shifted up, didn't he?
yeah, he sure enough did.
Man, it looked good from where I
Yeah,
was.
it's good to see a man doing his thing in the
Tighten it up,
kitchen.
man.
Everyone was called to the dinner table.
But before that, no, we forgot one thing before dinner happened. There was a game that was played.
Yeah,
It was a pool game
I
between
didn't forget that.
potential.
Okay.
Oh, okay, you
No, I
okay?
didn't forget that. No,
Okay, you
I just
deliberately did not mention it, huh?
oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Pool game actually took place between potential suitors for Morgan's honor. That being a game with involving Lyndon and Tony.
How do they fight for her honor, and then part of that honor is being taken away by deciding where she is gonna spend the night?
I have
I
no.
don't get it.
It seems like there was a focus on just winning the competition between two bucks than it was anything else.
Because Lyndon lost the pool game, and of course, Tony takes Morgan away.
Mhm.
And he's acting like she's a possession. He seems to be drunk and he seems to be acting like a man baby.
It was mature.
I don't think the whole thing, as it relates to Tony, was mature at all.
Well, I think he, and this is not to make any excuses, but he was probably a little twisted too. He looked like it from my vantage point, but that's no excuse. Bottom line is that from my vantage point, he showed his representative showed up as very insecure.
He started talking about, hey, how do you feel that I've kissed her more times
Yeah,
than
because
you
by
have?
then he's really annoyed that Lyndon has chosen to sit right next to Morgan. That kind of set him off a little bit. They had already settled it, I guess, in his mind at the pool table.
While they had a back and forth, he asked Lyndon how he felt that he has kissed Morgan many times and he hasn't done so.
Escalated quickly.
And it escalated to the point where Lyndon comes with a little nugget. He drops it like a bomb.
Mhm.
He said that Tony told him that had Marcia been there, he could have Morgan. And you could see she was shocked, she was surprised, her feelings were hurt,
Right.
and she was embarrassed because they were at the dinner table.
Of course.
And of course, once Tony heard that, he admitted that, yeah, I said that, but I didn't mean it. Men say stuff. That's basically
That
what
was
he
his
said.
rational lieization.
Right. And then he invited Lyndon to go outside.
Yeah, they was gonna square up.
Morgan decided to leave the room.
Yeah, at that point in time, I don't think either one of them were thinking not only clearly, but also whether not either one of them were thinking about, um, just how Morgan may have felt at that moment was obviously not at the forefront of their mind.
The men were more interested about fighting because it was the thing to do rather than Morgan and her feelings. If Lyndon cared about Morgan in any way, he would not have brought up that bomb about what Tony said as it relates to Marcia
In
and
front of other
in
people.
front of other people.
Yes.
And then Tony thinks Morgan is a possession that he thinks he can give her to Lyndon.
Yeah, he goes
She's a
macho.
grown
He
woman.
he goes macho.
Neither of them are feeling her to the extent that she thinks. And she stepped away. She and Cynthia was in a room talking, and Cynthia told her she gotta watch how a man treats her when they are angry. And those are wise words. The argument stage of any relationship, any partnership, you gotta be mindful of what that man is saying to you and vice versa.
And you know what? Tony also had another misstep that happened, I guess, shortly before that incident as well. I think Morgan and Jeffrey were sitting, I guess, in some place,
In the
part of the
kitchen,
house.
and he tried to
Yeah,
give advice
right,
to
right.
Jeffrey about her
Her two
dilemma,
connections,
her faux dilemma between Mark Antony and
Dre,
Dre, talking about a non-existent um um
dilemma.
dilemma that she may be experiencing.
Yeah,
Well, Lyndon went to apologize to Morgan because he told her
he realized.
he said too much
He
and
kind of weaponized that, didn't he?
right,
And used the opportunity to weaponize it,
he did.
and that was the wrong tactic. I mean, he should have, like you said, pulled her to the side and said, "Hey, look, this is what happened, and I don't want you to, think that, da 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 da. I'm trying to do this for any other reason other than to let you know who you are actually dealing with."
And then Tony went to Morgan's room to apologize and get this sorted. However, he decided not to issue a sincere apology, but his apology was laced with blame to someone else.
You said exactly
Lyndon
what I
was
was
the
gonna say.
reason why this thing went sideways, why he said what he said about Marcia, why he wanted to give her to Lyndon as if she's a piece of candy.
Right. So
So
basically, he was finger pointing at somebody else to justify why he acted a fool.
now, as a grown ass woman, she must understand that for him, the energy that she's giving him and the energy that he's giving her is just a smash, smash, dash situation. They ain't got anything deep or developing anything deep at this point because he believes that she is his possession
Right.
to
Simply
be
be.
given away or kept whenever he feels like.
And the thing about it is that from my vantage point, it seems like in this episode, Morgan was finally publicly beginning to acknowledge that
Well,
was.
she was humiliated,
Yeah, yeah, but
but
and
yet,
it took that. It took that.
but yet at the end of it, she still could not make a decision whether it be for Tony or for Lyndon. She said she was still giving him grace
To
and
make up and
to
go,
make up.
yeah, and come back in.
There's times to give a brother grace, and there's time just to keep moving. And if you love yourself enough, this man has embarrassed you, and I think she need to step off and go her other way. That sexual energy is so powerful for her. She wants him to fix what has been broken.
I just think that Tony had a bad episode. I really do. I think that he showed us, the viewers, that hey, look, wow, there is, some definite good qualities about him as a brother. He's got some issues to work on. One of those being maturity, and I think that there are other things that he probably needs to work on to really get to where he really wants to be in terms of that relationship. When it came to the next day when Futami came through, it seemed to me as though Lyndon and Tony had kind of squashed whatever ish that they had.
Mercedes and Sue's name came up frequently,
Often.
and and uh,
Too much?
and and Sue, we gotta talk about this. Sue met with Anthony, and they were playing some sort of shuffleboard
Yeah,
situation.
in indoor game or something.
And sort of implied that Anthony wasn't stepping up. He wasn't claiming her, so she gonna do a slow walk to Blake.
Hmm.
And I got the feeling that she was expecting Anthony to say, "Hey, don't do that," yada yada yada. But he said, okay, I see what you mean. Thank you very much. Deuces.
Right. For the
And
info.
she
Appreciate
looked,
it. It helped me make my decision. I respect you.
did she look as surprised?
I think she was caught off guard a little bit. That expectation didn't work out like she thought it would, huh?
Expectation is a monster.
Yeah.
Good God Almighty.
All right. Well, he did a quick pivot, didn't he? And he was out.
Like it's just a consolation prize to get through to the end.
Mm.
At the end of it, Sue got kicked out. She's done. So hopefully Blake is gonna be done as well. Um, in next week's episode, Morgan is cozying up to Lyndon. That's all we have. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. We'll see you next week. Start listening to the words that come out of the men that you're dating mouth. If it does not support you in any way, if you don't feel good about yourself, you need to get out.
And I'll add on to that by saying, once you kind of hear and or understand what's coming out of their mouth, make sure it lines up with what they do, because if you don't, what's coming out of their mouth ain't worth. Well, you know what I'm talking about.
Right. So don't confuse the physical with an authentic relationship because they're two different things. And if you want to smash, go ahead and smash. But certainly you got to trust and believe. You got to take the brother where he is and you got to take the sister where she is. And if they're both acting on a full level, you're building something on sand.